turno sende não e nós está aqui na Ford de Washington, nós sentamos com Javier Marín, que também conta-nos com o foro aqui na Bahia, o foro riba nicotina e tabaco. Javier, bem-vindo.
Gracias.
Javier es representante de PMI Philip Morris International Latinoamérica. Javier, ¿cómo le resultó el foro?
Mira, estos foros son muy importantes por diferentes razones. Una es porque nosotros como industria podemos compartir lo que estamos haciendo con representantes del gobierno, con medios de comunicación, con otros representantes de la industria, con representantes de la sociedad civil. ¿Qué significa esto? Es un foro completamente transparente que busca demostrar la innovación en la que estamos metidos para beneficiar a aquellos fumadores que quieren seguir consumiendo tabaco, pero que tengan opciones de mucho menor riesgo. En efecto, el tema del foro fue mayores opciones, menor riesgo.
Muy interesante. ¿Cuántas personas había en este foro?
Fuimos más o menos 400 participantes.
Bastante, y bastante las que presentaron también.
Sí, claro, sí, la agenda estuvo completamente llena y algo que vale la pena comentar es la gran participación que se tuvo en todas las sesiones. Cuando hablamos de la gran participación, una de las sesiones más esperadas fue la de la FDA.
Sí.
Y algo que es muy importante es cómo en estos foros la industria puede tener un acercamiento con las autoridades como la FDA y conocer concretamente cuáles son las políticas que la FDA en los Estados Unidos está implementando. Uno, para reconocer las nuevas alternativas como alternativas que pueden ayudar a la salud pública, pueden contribuir de gran manera a la salud pública. Y dos, aquellas medidas que está tomando para evitar esas consecuencias o tratar de evitar esas consecuencias como el que los jóvenes utilicen estas nuevas alternativas libres de humo. Tú sabes que es muy importante para nosotros y nosotros apoyamos todas las medidas para que primero las personas nunca empiecen a fumar, los adolescentes, si fuman lo dejen, pero si deciden seguir fumando, si deciden seguir consumiendo tabaco, que busquen opciones de menor riesgo y sobre todo que tengan acceso a la información para que puedan tomar una decisión informada.
¿Y cómo hace PMI por eso de la información? Porque salió en las presentaciones que la gente necesita mucha información.
Sí, mira, lo primero que hacemos es en temas de información, tú sabes que es una situación delicada. Lo que hacemos es compartir lo que tenemos, nuestros estudios, con las autoridades en cada uno de los países, con la comunidad científica, y ellos a su vez están evaluando cómo vamos y evalúan la ciencia que respalda nuestros productos.
En su opinión como participante, ¿este foro tuvo su objetivo?
Yo creo que cumplió su objetivo y uno de los temas que estaba en boga, como te habrás dado cuenta, fue la alta desinformación sobre los cigarrillos electrónicos. Y gracias a la información que vimos hoy de la FDA, a expertos médicos, cardiólogos internacionales, pudimos darnos cuenta realmente qué es lo que está pasando. Es decir, no todos los cigarrillos electrónicos son malos. La FDA está haciendo una investigación, tiene resultados preliminares y yo creo que tenemos que esperar antes de emitir juicios de que estas nuevas alternativas todas son malas. Tenemos que esperar los resultados de la investigación de la FDA y el Centro de Control de Enfermedades de Estados Unidos.
¿Y el próximo foro?
Y el próximo foro, la fecha del próximo foro es más o menos por septiembre. La agenda y las fechas la define la organización y nosotros somos como otras empresas también invitados, es decir, no tenemos nosotros cuándo va a ser.
Sí, no son los organizadores invitados.
Sí, somos invitados.
Javier, gracias por la información e nós temos roupa informação mais para compartilhar, para estar roupa bem delante, regulação, o que não está permitir. E ponto mais importante que bem delante, da país é a idade de 18 para 21 anos para permitir jovem não para fumar. Nós agradecemos sempre não e graças a Javier.
Gracias.
Swimmingly is not well aware of being linked to caused by smoking. And so the 13 proposed images and text warnings are designed to close that gap in knowledge, to fulfill the responsibility to make sure that the public understands all of the negative health consequences with smoking. The warnings would be required to appear 15 months after any final rule is issued, and the image that is floating on the left is just a mock-up of what it would look like by law to occupy the top 50% of the front and rear panels. And for those of you in countries that have cigarette health warnings with 65%, 70, 75%, we're talking 50% in the United States. First of all, how many cases are we talking about? And the numbers that you see on this slide, sadly, are only going to be going in one direction, and that is up. And CDC will be revising the numbers shortly. But the most recent official count was 530 cases and 7 confirmed deaths. We know there have been reports of additional deaths since, but they have not made it to the list of confirmed deaths. And we have developed a web page to try to provide the latest information and resources on this. Our role in this at FDA is to work in a complementary fashion with CDC. And when states have collected product samples and have made the decision to share them with us, then those samples go to our Forensic Chemistry Center. These are expert analytical chemists as we try to understand what is in these products. And the challenge that we are all facing is there's no common thread. There's no common thread in the self-reports from the patients who informed state officials in the first place. It is certainly looking like many of the cases involve THC, but not all the cases. Some of the THC cases involve oils, not all of the THC cases. There are CBD cases, and again, self-reports, so we maybe might want to question the accuracy of the self-report, but some of the self-reports are individuals claiming that the only product that they used was a nicotine-containing product. Yesterday, the acting commissioner, Dr. Sharpless, made clear that we are in close consultation with DEA. I'm not going to go into any more detail about respective agencies' authorities, other than to say we are looking at all of our authorities, tobacco and otherwise, and we are talking to DEA. I probably shouldn't say anything more than that publicly.
That's the proposition that crystallizes the need to provide people who are already smoking and who are otherwise going to continue access to and information about better products. And it's hardly a new concept. I remember 20 plus years ago when I was participating in various discussions and negotiations over litigation and regulation with plaintiff attorneys and state attorneys generals and members of the public health community, a loud and clear insistence to the cigarette companies to make less harmful products. It was a clear call that we use our resources to innovate in the area of tobacco products, tobacco and nicotine-containing products, I'll just, if I may use shorthand, tobacco products, a clear call for innovation in the interests of people who are already smoking and are likely continuing.
First of all, although THC use through inhalation has been happening for decades mainly, this has happened through smoking, marijuana, or through the use of what we call the dry herb vaporizers. Yeah, some devices where you put just plant, finely cut plant. The use of THC through liquid that is evaporated through an e-cigarette-like device, so they put it in a cartridge, it's a pre-filled cartridge, and you use then a battery similar to an e-cigarette battery, is a relatively recent phenomenon. And despite in some states having legal products, there are many states where this is illegal, so there is only black market. But also in the states where it's legal, there is a black market because it is much cheaper. And I presented the case, which you can find online. It's an interview of this patient who has thankfully recovered. He's explaining typically why it is THC. Because over the last month before his disease, he didn't use any other product besides illicit THC only. Now, why I emphasize the term illicit? Because as you understand, when you have a black market, you will have no quality control. You don't even know what people are using, and people will use the cheapest thing that they find. You will find over the internet very recent debates starting in late 2018 about finding new solvents and new thickeners to be used in the development and production of these types of THC oils. And the problem is not THC itself. So because of the previous use, we cannot suggest that THC as a compound, tetrahydrocannabinol, is the reason. But it is very likely, and don't forget that these are catastrophic disease cases happening in a very short period of time in absolutely healthy subjects. This means that there is something which is harmful in very large quantities in the liquid that causes the disease. And my suspicion, which of course is not validated through evidence yet, but I don't even have any data or evidence, it's only the CDC, the FDA that has the evidence. Looking also at the cases that have been reported, mostly lipoid pneumonias or eosinophilic pneumonias, to inflammatory conditions of the lungs, it is very likely that solvents used in these liquids, probably oils, are implicated in this disease. And I also explain why we don't expect the conventional products to be implicated, because we don't need to add oils in these cases. Of course, there may be isolated cases of maybe also illicit products or something else which may be responsible for past case reports, but we're talking about very sporadic cases. 2, 3, or 4 cases of lipoid pneumonia have been reported, and I doubt that all of them were due to e-cigarettes. But compare the 3 or 4 cases in 10 years, over the past 10 years, with the 600 cases today. So today we have an outbreak. And if you look at cases like that, I mean, we know, and the CDC has said that 90% of confirmed cases are due to THC.
And he knew I liked to try his C9 TV product, so he thought it'd be funny, he thought I'd get a kick out of the ad. And he sent it to me in an email, and I ordered one because I thought, what if it's real? I mean, what if it's not a joke? And I tried it, it was proof of concept. It didn't work right away, straight away. It was it was weaker than the new innovations are in e-cigarettes, but I kept at it, and I finally found a device that worked. I remember when I bought my first, I don't know if anyone from Joytech is in the room, a Joytech Ego. I had four cigarettes left in a pack, and I tried it and never picked up another cigarette after I tried that first Ego battery and Ego system, maybe back in about 2010. And then I was just on Capitol Hill just to share my story. I quit smoking. My doctor has done chest x-rays on me. She has affirmed that my vaping is substantially better for me. It's not good for me, but it's better for me than smoking cigarettes. I can exercise, I don't get winded, I can run. And I just wanted to share that with Congress. And Congress didn't want to hear it. Members of that committee were not there to listen to a personal experience, one of 8 million at least people in America who finally found a way to quit smoking. That committee just wanted to continue to conflate two serious issues, children using e-cigarettes and these lung injuries that have been reported. They essentially wanted to use that committee to try to find a way to malign everybody who's part of this innovative technology and this new category of smoking cessation. That's what they were there for. And it occurred to me pretty early on that I was there to just simply, hopefully, try to be a voice against a howling wind. Many of you maybe have already seen the testimony. I was accused of a winking conspiracy by Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. That was strange. I had no idea that I was going to be there and be peppered and kind of pummeled a little bit by members of Congress. I was just there to address my government, to hopefully get my government to listen to one story of millions, and a dime a dozen story, quite frankly. I mean, I am common. I'm not unique. The only thing that makes me unique is I got an invitation to Capitol Hill. I don't have a lot of faith in Congress to do anything on its own. And I would just say that it's got to be more than just little Vicky Porter, from Lake Mills, Wisconsin, trying to get the appropriate information in the magnificent potential that, at least in my experience, e-cigarettes specifically have. And I think they saved my life. So that's what I went to Congress to say, and they didn't really want to hear it. And I was pretty disappointed leaving, but it went viral. So I guess a lot of